But a lot of times women want to stay in the shadows because they just, no, it's not that they want to stay in the shadows, they just do because they're not comfortable with the topic of being successful financially. And what that does is when they're successful financially, it really does impact the greater community. If we can help women be successful in their business and scale a business that they love, that is part of the empowering a billion women because it does really impact the greater good.
Welcome to another episode of Women Investing in Women. My co-host Robin and I are delighted to week after week bring and showcase women who are making an impact in our society, not just for themselves. As they make an impact and as they grow, they're taking other women along for the journey and they are sharing their light, they're sparking and igniting purpose and impact in others. And in this process of women investing in women, we love showcasing how goodness can be contagious, how goodness can truly build a world that behooves each of us, and how women could truly thrive when we embrace a sense of abundance and lift each other up. And let's have Robin kick this off because you're going to love our returning Women Investing in Women guest. She is a member of the community, and I am delighted to have her here.
Absolutely. We're so thrilled to have Phaedra Rogers with us again. The first time she was telling us about a new women's platform, a technical platform called Uplevel. And now she's involved with a wonderful organization called Empowering a Billion Women. And as soon as I heard the title, it's like, okay, we've got to have Phaedra back on here. And so, Phaedra, tell us about this Empowering a Billion Women, what it's all about, how you got involved with it, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you both, Robin and Cass, for having me back again. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, I have a penchant for being part of organizations that are women founded, women focused, usually tech platforms, but for the betterment of women and thus meaning the world. I became involved with Empowering a Billion Women. So you're going to hear me refer to it as EBW going forward, but that stands for Empowering a Billion Women. A couple of years ago, I met our CEO and our founder, Ingrid Vanderbilt, who is one of the most successful female entrepreneurs in the country, and her success is very far-reaching. And she was going through a difficult time in her life when it was one of her down and out times. As most entrepreneurs will probably attest, there are always those ebbs and flows in life where, and she was pretty down. Her story is pretty remarkable. So she was on a dirt road in Dallas. She was sitting in her car and she was really struggling with what her next project was going to be. And she immediately got the sense that it was a message that, she's very prayerful and is very candid about her faith. So if you hear me speak about that, that's, from her. She felt very strongly that she was going to do something to empower a billion women using what she knows about starting and scaling businesses for women founders. So at the time, she wasn't entirely sure how she was going to put it all together, but EBW started around 2014, 2015, scaled, and then COVID hit, and then they had to recalibrate. And then she came back a few years ago with a much more concise plan, and that's where we are now, post-COVID. So basically what I don't want to call it a platform because that's not entirely what it is. It is an organization a business that helps women entrepreneurs have access to opportunity at like the widest zoom lens camera I can offer. We provide access to opportunity for women entrepreneurs, founders, inventors. And through that, we have, she has a learning system of how women can get into the real nuts and bolts, because it's very different for men than it is for women. So she has created EBW specifically for women. We do have men though. We do have men who are supporting us and who are involved in it, but it's for women because we have a different set of obstacles to face when it comes to scaling our business. So there's community, there's learning, there are different badge levels. So, you go into the platform and you take an assessment, a personalized assessment as to where you are in your journey. You could be literally still working in the corporate world and then thinking about starting a business, or you could be a seasoned entrepreneur and you're ready to go big with, with major funding. So we run the gamut on who's part of our community. And then once that assessment is done, and it only takes, I did it, it took me less than a week, then you're given kind of a roadmap as to what your next steps are and how to get there. And you speak to somebody, usually it's Ingrid, who analyzes your assessment, and then we'll have a meeting with you and just kind of go over that. And anyway, that's a very, very wide zoom lens snapshot of what it is. A very long answer to a very simple question.
No, that's very impactful, because as our audience listen to this, they are going to see what this journey is going to look like. It's not a platform where you go and click and do something. It's not transactional. It is a guided transformational journey in community, right?
Correct.
So that's how I would, in
Yes.
my mind, I'm summarizing and you're affirming. And
Yes.
that is what is going to help people take those chances and do the things that they would never do. Because
Correct.
too many times people just tell them what to do and walk away.
Yes.
And all the challenges happen when you're in process of trying to do it, because each of us are going to run into different scenarios and we need a mentor, a community to take that journey with us. So
Exactly.
so understanding that, my question is, how does the organization select the billion women, and who are the right women to step into this journey?
That's a great question. So a billion women, we are just now coming, we're just now going live, so to speak, and we're just now onboarding our first 100 founding members because, like I said, we recalibrated. The platform is completely different. So we are now onboarding our founding 100. When Ingrid got the message, a billion women, and we're talking about things like, we have investors and we have corporate partners who are looking to find untapped talent. So let's say somebody comes to us and says, I'm really looking for a women-owned business in somewhere in Africa or somewhere in another part of the world or whatever, and then they're part of our community, then we can match those two based on the investor's need or the corporate's need and the woman's need, her business. So let's say, for example, so to answer your question about a billion women, I don't know that we would ever stop at a billion. It could be even more than that, but that's how the system grows. And, it just sort of fans out based on how many women start getting onboarded and so on and so forth. This is a legacy project. It's going to be something that outlives all of us, for our daughters, our granddaughters, our great granddaughters, if they decide to choose that path.
What's coming up for me is there is a lot of research that if women are able to make money and help provide for their family or provide for their family, that the entire community is uplifted. The children's education rises, the interconnections within the community rise more than if you if you just only give that, I guess I'm thinking microloans. You give a microloan to a man, and I don't want to diss men here, okay?
Right, right.
I don't
That's
want to
not
diss
what
men,
we're doing.
but you give it microloan to a woman, and they find that they're then investing it, making sure their kids get educated, make sure that the community is cleaned up and is improved. So what is that I'm wondering if you've thought about that phenomenon and what is
Absolutely.
it? And this is what you're tapping into.
Oh, Ingrid's talked about that everywhere. It is one of the tenets of what drives our business, because when you will not buy or will not work with you if they don't trust you. And so once you build trust with women, we're very loyal. And yes, we tend to put our money back out into the world. And like you said, we're not here to diss men and how they do things. It's not that. It's they tend to manage their wealth a little bit differently than we do. So the more money that we have, the more money we make. And let's face it, making money for women is not a topic that most women are comfortable with. And we're trying to normalize that it is okay to want to succeed. It doesn't mean you're greedy. That has nothing to do with it. But a lot of times women want to stay in the shadows because no, it's not that they want to stay in the shadows, they just do because they're not comfortable with the topic of being successful financially. And what that does is when they're successful financially, it really does impact the greater community. If we can help women be successful in their business and scale a business that they love, that is part of the empowering a billion women because it does really impact the greater good.
That's so true in terms of how life has evolved, right, in this human society. And as you know, I live in the Caribbean, work in the US, but I also do work across Africa and the Caribbean.
Mhm.
And what I have found is in all these developing countries, I am from South Asia. So in all these developing countries where they call the global south or where 7 of the 8 billion population reside, the only way to drive impact is through not-for-profits and not through business, because people you want to serve, people you want to help, the people you want to uplift through your entrepreneurial endeavors don't have money to pay. So
Mhm.
everything is done through not-for-profits with writing grants and volunteering.
Mhm.
How does that kind of an approach in the reality of the 7 billion population of the global south, how does that play into this?
That's a great question that I would have to defer to Ingrid on that. I do know this. I know that, let's say, for example, um, we did a recent mastermind and we had a group of our members come to Austin and everybody had done their assessment. And one of the women was not had not actually launched yet, but she had her business idea. And she's like, I've been doing this for a long time, but I've just been doing it for free because my friends are asking me for this or that or the other. Now, granted, I know that we're in the United States, which is very different than other parts of the world, but we were able to help her become aligned with the reality that you have a business concept and it's very if people are asking you to do it, it's there's for a reason, right? You just have to get past that mental block of asking for money. I don't know that that's really, or charging for your time and your services. And I don't know that that's really answering your question, Cass, but if you're referring to, nonprofits and women working for free and how we impact them, well, a lot of that's going to come from them being able to say, you know what, I actually do have value to offer, and I do have the ability to bring in some income to support myself or my family.
So to clarify, what I mean is, say, there is an organization a woman has started in the country of Belize that is expanding all across the Caribbean in empowering teachers and youth.
Hmm.
But it's done as a not-for-profit
Hmm.
because women and youth don't have the money to pay. But if
Sure.
we don't lift them up, the society doesn't make that progress. I work
Hmm.
with a woman in one of the African countries where we are working on STEM for girls. But the girls don't have the money. They are in a society where girls' education is not valued, so the men in their families are not going to invest.
Hmm.
We have to find external investors who see the value in it and fund the not-for-profit so that we can invest in the girls. And then those girls can become entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Something has to do the gardening and the seeding
Correct.
in
Yes.
the global south, in the 7 billion population. The rest of
Mhm.
the world is only 1 billion, men included.
Yes. Yes. I see what you mean. So to answer your question, we do have women who are similar to what you were just saying. You know, you have your nonprofit that serves STEM. It's on a shoestring budget, if any budget. There are people out there, as you know, who would consider investing if they know how to find you. And I think that's what our secret sauce is in empowering a billion women is part of it is Ingrid's reputation globally. You know, people take her seriously. She knows what she's doing. So they do come to her. That's where we want to be the place where people come to find women who are doing exactly like you're saying, starting nonprofits, running nonprofits, need the funding, um, you know, things like that. So it doesn't have to be a brick and mortar type business. It doesn't have to be any certain type of business. It could be nonprofits. Because actually, one of the women in our mastermind runs a nonprofit, and so she was needing clarity on how to proceed with her nonprofit. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
yes.
I was going to ask, what do you find are some of the mental blocks with women in being able to take an idea and then move forward with it so it actually becomes financially successful? Are there some commonalities that you're seeing with the women who have been able to do that and the women who are still struggling?
Yes, absolutely. There are two things that come to mind right off the top of my head, and that's a great question. So, I would say the first mental block is know-how. They just don't know how. You can Google yourself, you can chat GPT until, morning, noon, and night. You can do all of those things, but it does take you being in an organization or having some sort of structured foundation around you to help you see how to get there, what to do, because it's a mindset thing. And one of the things that Ingrid has spoken about again a lot is when if you're looking for investors in your business, a lot of the problem lies with, as women founders, we have so much zeal for what we're doing, whether it's nonprofit or for profit, but we don't necessarily know how to speak the same language that investors are looking for, even if you're talking to a group of women investors. Do you understand what they have to gain and lose? And so you have to speak their language. And if you don't know how to speak their language, then you're at risk of not getting the outcome you're looking for. And so in our, EBW aims to arm women with the right know-how, how to go forward. So know-how is number one. Number two is clarity. And then I would have to say, clarity, knowing like uh, how they want it to look, how they want to balance out their life. We have a weekly newsletter called Spark, and actually I'm the one that writes that one, but we have a weekly newsletter called Spark, and a couple of weeks ago, it was the topic of clarity and asking yourself these three questions, and they weren't questions like, where do I see myself in 5 years? It's not that. They were much more in depth, and they were more reflective on you as a person and what you want, versus like, what do I want my business to look like? But once you can get some of that noise cleared up, then you're able to create a plan. And another thing, women don't always, people, not just women, doing a business plan, knowing who your one person is that can open a door, clarifying exactly who that person is or those people are, is not an easy thing. And that's one of the things that's on our platform that, helps women to understand like, okay, this is how I need to go forward. Know-how, clarity, and guilt. A lot of things I'm hearing is, just feeling guilty.
So what is the entry requirements, and is there pricing involved as well? Because
Yes.
that will determine how that translate into local exchange rate currencies for women outside of the first world.
Yes, exactly. And I know that we are working on the different currencies and the different pricing. So I'm going to speak just in US dollars. So we have on the platform different levels of involvement. We have gold, rose, and black. And it's a card. It's not it's not a transactional card. It's just a card that gets you into our system. The initial card is $595 a year, and that gets you in the community. You take your assessment, you get your roadmap. You are listed on what we call the one board, which is where you can list your services. It's like an index, almost like a stock market kind of type thing, where you can list your services, list your business, and other women can find you. So, or even investors. And so that gets you in. And then the higher up you go, the more visible you can become, because then you are a little bit more experienced in your entrepreneurial journey, if that helps you. So the
What,
pricing starts at 595.
and then what does that progress to?
It progresses to, you know what? That's a great question. The rose and the black are different numbers, but I don't recall what they are off the top of my head, because we are really working a lot. We do have a couple of black members now, which means that they are very much experienced entrepreneurs, and they have a higher financial investment, but they get a lot more. There's a lot more, like they are invited to very exclusive events where they're in front of, certain groups of people, that sort of a thing. So just the start though, is 595 a year annually. And we do have, I believe we have the option to pay monthly. So, for, less than, I don't know, an expensive piece of clothing or a handbag or whatever, you have this whole system for you for a year and all the benefits that go with it.
How do you go about really the women who are part of your organization, helping them feel a sense of community with each other, and like through events, or how do you go about bringing a sense of bonding and support and sharing know-how or sharing encouragement with the people who are already part of your group?
So we have a few different ways. We are now launching in-person events. So like I had mentioned, we had a mastermind a couple weeks ago. We have another one at the end of this month. Both are here in Austin. And then we have events, kind of all over. Like we have one coming up in South Carolina. We are going to the UN. If you're a member, you're invited to go to the UN with us. That's in November. And so we have in-person events, and then we also have now chapters. So if there's a group of women, say in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then you have a group of women in Athens, Greece, and then you have a group of women anyway, Mexico City, whatever. There are chapters all over the place now, as women are onboarded. And so a lot of these women are women who were part of it before we rebranded and relaunched and so on and so forth, but they're still part of our network. We provide a way for people to meet in person. And I will say our in-person events tend to become a real source of just joy and community and networking for women. But even if, let's say, you live in a rural part of the country or a rural part of the world, and you just don't have the option to go to Paris, meet with your chapter there, on our platform, you are part of that chapter online. So you are still part of that community, even if you can't go in person. So there are, in-person events, online groups, chapters, based on your geography is how we are able to corral people. And then we also have every week, we have weekly office hours on our platform. So anyone can join. We talk about any kind of issues that are coming up for people. Mostly it's tech issues within the platform, but we're starting to open that up to more broad conversations.
I'm gonna jump in with another quick question. I realize it's Cass's turn for a question, but we've been talking about the organization a lot, but I don't want the conversation to end before we hear what is it within you that draws you to these organizations to help women. We want to hear about you as a person in addition to these wonderful organizations. So if you want to throw that in before we wrap it up here.
Sure, sure. That's a great question too. I think I was just born with it, part of it. Partly, I've always gravitated to any type of nonprofit that focuses on women and children. I work most of the time now with EBW, but I still have some clients, that aren't part of that organization. I just love working with women and helping them. And it's not coming from the space of trying to outpace men or outdo men. It's not really, it's just, I just do. And of course, now I have 3 daughters. And so now it's personal. But I never really set out. It's just something I've always gravitated towards. When women succeed, the world is just better. This is the bottom line.
Absolutely. And to me, that tells me it's your calling. It's
Yeah.
not something you're consciously choosing, but your spirit is guiding you and you're just in flow. And
Yes.
that is when magic happens, right? So I'm so glad to hear that.
Yes. Thank
And
you. Thank
thank
you.
you so much for being a part of this community, coming back to share insights and messages, and including women in journeys you are taking. We truly appreciate that. And please continue to stay in touch, because the whole point of women investing in women is to share these ideas and journeys and opportunities so that we can continue to inspire each other, ignite each other's purpose, and take this journey. And to
Mm.
our audience out there, remember, none of us succeed alone. We don't come into this world alone. We don't leave this world alone. The only way we make an impact for ourselves and live in our purpose in flow is in co-creation with others. So find your community, find your tribe, find your sisterhood, because ultimately the fact of the matter is the quality of life for a woman is 100% predicated in her sisterhood and her tribe. So build your tribe, build your community, and build your peace and your success.